Hi, this is George Cow, and welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast and community and YouTube channel where we are exploring the best ideas for spiritually based business and life success. So, if you have been following this podcast, you know that I started this a year ago. We have more than 50 episodes already uploaded to the podcast itself, and some getting close to 70 videos, I think, on our YouTube channel. And I paused the podcast for a while, for a couple of months, and now I'm back. And here I am to share with you the reasons why I'm back and what's coming up for us here in this podcast, and what I'm envisioning for what's possible with this community. Now, before I get going on that, I do want to thank those who are commenting live on the podcast itself. And I just want to send a quick shout out to Wendy McKay, Sandy Freshy, Simon Karstensen, Barbara Bailey. I probably should stop saying last names because I'm probably not saying them correctly, perhaps. Kevin is also here with us, so thank you. Those of you who are watching this later or listening to the episode, you can go to our website, www.ourhighestwork.com, and then click on the episodes and find the links to the YouTube videos. The YouTube videos are sort of the central place for the podcast. So let me kind of explain to you what my work process is for the podcast, and maybe this will inspire you to think about creating your own as well. So to create this podcast, I first brainstorm the ideas, of course, spend some time doing that. Sometimes it's just 15 minutes. Sometimes it's half an hour. Sometimes it's over a couple of days. I might just kind of have a particular topic in mind. And if I go about just going about my own business, if ideas come through, I'll just quickly write them down in my phone. And then when it's time for me to kind of prepare the podcast with more focus, I'll take out my notes from my phone and prepare my podcast that way. Sometimes I create a mind map or improve upon a mind map I've already created in preparation. And then I announced the podcast. I announced it to the email list at ourhighestwork.com. If you want to get the announcements, for sure, you can do that by going to ourhighestwork.com, sign up for the email list, and you'll be sure to get the announcements about the live podcasts. And then the day of the podcast, of course, I do this Google Hangout on air. And it's live in real time. I'm just doing it here. And that gets automatically put onto a YouTube video. That's how the Google Hangout works. It gets automatically placed on YouTube video. I usually, if there is any kind of preparation, couple of minutes before the official podcast, sometimes I come on early and I talk to some of the live commenters. And then I will edit that part out for the YouTube video. All right, so the YouTube video gets placed there on our Highest Work YouTube channel. And then from there, what I'm now going to be doing is I've hired someone, or I'm actually going to be hiring someone, to then download the YouTube video, convert that into an audio, edit that into a nicer sounding podcast. So with an intro music, outro music, that kind of thing, which we never had before, right? If you have been following this podcast, you know that the audio has been very basic. It's just me talking. There's no music of any kind. And really the reason I decided to start a podcast last year was because I myself have been benefiting from podcasts for at least a year before that. And I was so grateful to the podcasting community, all the podcasters out there who are investing their time and energy in creating free content for the world that I benefited so much from. And all the YouTube people who create free videos for all of us to watch. I just felt so grateful that I thought, it was time for me to give back. I felt like I had a unique message to share that was helpful to some people in the world. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And so that's why I decided to create the podcast. So one of the things I realized was that my podcast, although it has some good content, it wasn't as enjoyable to listen to as the podcast that I listen to myself. It doesn't have the music, intro, outro. Maybe it wasn't edited as well as I hoped it, well, the ones that I listened to. And so I realized that if I'm going to give back in an earnest way, I want to make it a podcast that I myself would want to listen to. Does that make sense? So, and I also, I want to share with you my thinking about tithing. I believe in tithing. Tithing is the idea of giving away 10% of your income to charity of some kind, or to help other people, right? Tithe, the word tithe actually comes from, I don't know, I think it's a Latin or Greek word. Those of you who know can comment below. Tithe means 10, or 10, right? So it's about, the idea is to give 10% of your income to help others without any sense of return. It's just to, as a worship, perhaps as a dedication to the oneness of everyone and the benefit of everyone, not for selfish gain, right? So, and in the past, I've always tied to various organizations, and feed the hungry, or help the environment, or help this and that project. And then I came to a realization recently that, wait a second, I don't really have a deep connection to these organizations. It's not like I volunteer for them, or I don't have a say into where my money really goes when I tithe. And I thought, what if I took my tithe money, and instead of just giving away to charity, I put that money and I created jobs. I put that money and I created jobs, specifically jobs doing things that don't necessarily benefit my business, but benefit the world. And so that's how I came up with this idea of, what if I spent my tithing money and just hired contractors to make the free content that I create that much better, so that it can actually be more entertaining. More entertaining means that it'll actually help more people, will be more likely to consume it and be helped by it. And my money will go to places that I know are actually helping people. My contractors need the money to make a living. And I believe that making a living is the most dignified way of helping poverty, right? Instead of just feeding someone, you're giving away for someone to fish, and that they can feed themselves and their family and improve themselves as a result. And so that's kind of how I'm thinking about my tithing money now, is take 10%, hire, like I said, contractors, audio editors, maybe video editors, graphic designers, or whatever it needs, to make this free content that I'm giving to the world the best that I can give, without any sense of return. Because most of the people who watch this podcast and listen, watch the video and listen to the podcast, most of them, the vast majority, maybe none of them, will ever become my clients. And I don't sell my coaching program in these podcasts and video channels. I just give, and I hopefully give in a way that's really helpful to you. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what you think about that. Again, those of you who are live and commenting, or even just those of you who are watching and on the comments thread, please comment below and let me know what you're thinking. And thank you. I just saw that Zuzu also just commented, and Kevin as well. And let's see here. And Wendy asked a question. So the previous podcasts are viewable on YouTube. Yes, there are, I think, close to 70 videos now, all trainings about authentic marketing, creating a true livelihood business, joyful productivity, that and other related topics, mindful activism, things like that, spiritual growth. They're all available on youtube.com/ourhighestwork. It's all one word. Or just go to ourhighestwork.com, click on the episode section, and you'll find that as well. Zuzu asked a question, which is that she'd love to hear what I've discovered as best practices about standing out from the crowd and really providing value and transformation to our ideal clients and customers. What a wonderful question. Thank you, Zuzu, for that. I'll let it kind of sit in my mind for a little bit. I'm going to read the next comment. Kevin says he's always liked these podcasts because I skipped the beating my own drum promotional stuff and got right into the content itself. Thank you, Kevin, for that comment. Actually, even for my upcoming podcast, where I'm going to be adding some more intros, outros, it's not meant to promote myself, but rather to make it more entertaining, make it more engaging. Okay, so, all right, the question that Zuzu asked, how do we stand out from the crowd and really provide value? Great question. And I will tell you that that is the right question to ask. That it's not about standing out, because it's not about talking louder or posting more often on social media, emailing more to your email list to stand out in that way. That is one way of standing out, right? And so let me say this. There are two ways of standing out, basically. I'll say, okay, let me say three ways of standing out. One is quantity. Quantity, meaning the more often you email, you've seen this before. I mean, you are probably subscribed to some email newsletters and people just email you all the time. And that's one way you stand out, is by, for lack of a better word, bugging people more often. And you probably feel that way sometimes about some of the emails that you're subscribed to. You feel like they're always bugging you. They're trying to be louder, basically, than other people. Being louder online means quantity. Just you're logging to Facebook and you keep seeing certain people post, right? They post very often. So that quantity is one way of doing it. The second way is quality. Quality is meeting people, meeting your ideal customers, your ideal audience, where they are at, being as helpful or entertaining as possible to them. And it could be both, right? If you practice, you can learn how to be both entertaining and helpful. But even if you're just one of those two things, you will stand out from the crowd. And remember that quality is not just about trying to please the whole world. It's not, I mean, some people, even you might say, well, how come some things are viral, some things go viral and the mass public likes it, certain music videos or certain cat videos or whatever. Well, the truth about quality is that it's always about meeting a particular audience where they're at. So when you think about the people you really want to help, the people you really want to reach, maybe it's your ideal clients, what entertains them? What engages them? What will be really helpful to them that you can provide? If you answer those questions, and it's not a one-time answer, these are inquiries that you keep on engaging with in the rest of your career. What can I say that truly is helpful, transformational, that my ideal audience would find truly transformational and helpful? And the way that, or again, like I said, what can I say that's truly entertaining or engaging for them? And the way you really answer that question is by observing your interactions with them over time, and their interactions with other message givers, with other content providers. Okay, so as you create content, whether you're posting on Facebook or whether you are creating videos or podcasts or writing blogs, notice which ones that your ideal audience members tend to like the most, share forward the most, comment the most. And as you keep in that inquiry, again, this is not a one-time inquiry. It's something that you will, I'm planting the seed so that hopefully you'll keep on bringing this question up for yourself over time. And it's less of a question, it's less of a homework assignment. It's more of a lens you put on, that you're continually asking, oh, what's my ideal audience benefiting most from what I'm saying? And also, what are they benefiting most from that I can see that other content providers are providing? So if you see your clients or ideal audience members commenting a lot on something else, you got to ask yourself, what is it that person is providing that is so either entertaining for them or so helpful for them? Does that make sense, Suzu? So let me know if this is helpful for you. And yes, and I see Wendy also just commented, thank you, and Bailey as well, or Barbara, sorry, Barbara as well, and Kevin. Okay, so I was saying the three ways of standing out. Quantity is one, and all of these are legitimate. And I will give you my opinion on these three. So quantity is one, quality is second. And that's what I'm always asking you, and is what am I providing for you that is really helpful, okay? Because if I provide something for you that's really helpful, you're much more likely to like it, comment on it, share it forward, even without me asking you. And this was a conversation I was having with someone recently, a colleague of mine who's been quite helpful for me. Thank you, Carl Willis. I was talking to him about how I want to stop doing content, my free content. I want to stop doing it for the affirmation, for the praise. I realized that this has been really tripping me up. And I think this trips up a lot of people, right? That the reason I stopped my podcast in a couple months ago was because I felt like I wasn't getting enough praise, compliments from my podcast listeners and audience members. And so I was talking to Carl about this, and he said something wonderful to me. He said, George, I know that your values is about unconditional love. And if you're doing something for the praise, for the compliments, and if you're not going to do it anymore because you don't get enough praise and compliments, even though you think it's the right thing to do, even though you think it's worth doing in the world, it's something that's worth doing. It's worth sharing, right? If you believe in it and you're not sharing it because you're not getting enough compliments, then you'll always only be you'll be beholden to the winds of praise and compliments. And I just thought, it's so true. I want to share what I think is worthwhile for you because I love you, because I believe in this work, and I believe in you. And when I say you, I mean you as my audience members. I want to really help you. Whether or not you remember to, stop your listening of the podcast and comment, it doesn't matter to me anymore. However, given that though, that's important. That's an important thing. Given that though, I still will continue to see what seems to be most helpful. The difference now though is I won't try to say, oh, if I have to get a minimum number of comments or likes before I continue doing this thing, right? So I hope that encourages you as well, is whatever message you believe in and whatever message you have been finding has been helpful to your ideal audience, share it anyway. Help them anyway, even if you don't get the requisite number of thanks or likes or shares or comments. You do it because you enjoy the experience of serving. You do it because you remember what love is about. And so that's number 2, right? Quality, right? Focus on quality. And if you keep focusing on quality, one day you will share something that goes viral. It's just statistics. It's just a matter of time. And viral doesn't mean it gets 10 million views. Viral is dependent on your own audience. For me, when I post something on Facebook and it gets 33 likes, I consider that to be one of my better posts. It's viral for my numbers. If it gets 60, 70 likes, that's even more viral, right? Most of my Facebook postings get, a few likes, a few comments. And I realize it's because I've been playing the quantity game a bit too much the past couple months. So I'm kind of focusing more on the quality game now. I remember I said there was a third way to stand out. The third way to stand out is when someone else promotes you, is when someone else brings you to their audience. And this can happen if you partner with someone to do a webinar for their audience. You get interviewed on a podcast, or simple. So those are some ways of doing it. Or you write a blog post for someone else's audience. Okay, those are some ways of doing it. But another way of standing out, or another way of being promoted by someone, is simply when you focus on quality, you will eventually share something that's so useful or so entertaining that people just naturally want to share it forward. And so that third thing about standing out happens, and that's how a lot of people have heard of me, is when someone else shared me forward. That's how some people have heard of you, is someone from your audience shared your thing forward. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to take a quick pause and allow you to digest that. And at the same time, I'm going to take a look at the comments that are coming through. So Barbara says, I love the idea of tithing, letting the money flow through us. Zuzu says, such a great idea about conscious capitalism and business as a spiritual practice. Thank you, Zuzu, for actually saying that. Business as a spiritual practice. Yes, I really believe that the purpose of life is not to accumulate money or to have comfort or to even have pleasure. I don't believe that happiness is the purpose of life. I believe that growth is the purpose of life. Or I should rephrase that. Happiness, as most human beings define it, as comfort and pleasure, usually bodily pleasure of some kind, that's a shallow level of happiness. There's a deeper level of happiness that so many people forget about, which is a happiness on the soul level. Have you ever been through a challenge where you remember the purpose of the challenge, and you find the meaning within the challenge, or you're encouraged by someone to find the meaning or purpose in the challenge, and you find this meaning, the meaning that's deep there within actually created some kind of happiness for you, maybe created some courage for you to bear yourself through the challenge, bear through the challenge, or some kind of patience, and you are proud of yourself for having those virtues or for growing in that virtue. That level of happiness, I believe, is why we're really here. And yes, the more shallower level of happiness is a respite given to us. Comfort and pleasure is a respite given to us so that we have the strength to then go face another challenge, to grow and to reach that deeper level of happiness. And so that's spiritual practice, and I believe that business and work is really a stage. The purpose of business and work is not to make money. That's I should say that is one purpose. That's a shallower purpose. You need that purpose to have comfort and pleasure and security, right? But the deeper purpose of work, I believe that work and business is a stage for the deeper stuff, which is finding meaning and spiritual personal growth, and that brings us that deeper level of happiness. So Zeus, thank you for bringing that phrase out, business as spiritual practice. So let's see, what else do I want to call out in terms of comments? And thank you, Kevin and Wendy, for your comments as well, and Sandy also. Sandy says that this example of this podcast has helped her to open her heart to creativity and in her heart, regardless of the results. I want to share with you a quote that I've been memorizing. Let's see if I can share it correctly. It's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, and it goes like this: "To action alone hast thou a right, and never at all to its fruits. Let not the fruits of action be thy motive. Neither let there be in thou any attachment to inaction." So don't be lazy. "Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty." And by duty, it's meant in the framework of the whole passage, it's meant worship to God in our work. Duty, if you don't believe in God, think of duty as doing work because of love for someone or for an audience or for your own growth. Okay, that's what duty means. Okay, the final part of the quote is, "For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme." Isn't that wonderful, that quote? So it's about working because the work is worth it, and not being attached. Whatever fruits come is whatever fruits come. Sometimes, even the most successful business people, even the most successful marketers, I've seen this again and again, and myself as well. We have the most perfect marketing plan for a particular launch, and we enact, the perfect marketing plan, and then the fruits don't come, And on the other time, sometimes we do a very sloppy launch that we didn't follow all the perfect best practices, and yet the fruits come in droves. There's lots of fruit. And so I believe that there is a greater being in control, whether you believe it's God or the universe or the economy or the interconnections that you cannot see, that actually makes it such a difference in your life that you cannot control. But there is something in control of our lives that is beyond our control. And what we are called to do is do the work that's worthwhile. Okay, do the work that's worthwhile and let the fruits come. Now, part of the work that's worthwhile, all of this is, the foundation needs to be, of course, that you need to figure out how to support yourself financially, right? That's part of the work that's given to us, is we first have to figure out how to support ourselves financially. Once we can figure that out, then we could do the more self-actualizing work. Very few of us are lucky enough to immediately do self-actualizing work and immediately find financial security from it. We usually need to figure out, and I have about 1 minute left. I want to, or 2 or 3 minutes left before the half-hour mark of this episode, and I want to try to stick to my time better these days. How do you make money? Where does money come from? Now, you may have heard me say this before, but I'll remind you. Money comes from other people, okay? If you could be useful or entertaining to other people, and if you can make an offer to them for something, a paid service or product or program that is useful and or entertaining for them, they will pay you, okay? If people aren't paying you for a service, product, or program, it's because you haven't yet made it useful enough or entertaining enough for them. End of story. And so to make money, you've got to first realize that money comes from other people, not from your own passion. Money comes from other people. So you've got to do something that other people want, okay? And so but if you're so passionate about something, you want to use your passion to make money, then really the way of doing that, so there's like 2 ways of making money, right? One way is to just do whatever people want, which is get a job, right? Whatever people want is they're hiring for something, you just go and apply for a job, you get it, or go through networking or however you want to get a job. Or you see whatever is, so that's one way of doing it. Another way, you see whatever is selling and you sell that thing because you know people are buying that kind of thing. Okay, that's one way of making money, is regardless of your passion. The other way of making money, which is harder but much more fulfilling, right, is to say, what am I passionate about? And then how can I reframe, re-say, remarket this passion in a way that people want, in a way that's useful for a specific audience. The more specific an audience you can be, the more likely you are able to focus your messaging on what that audience wants. So let me say that again. The way to make money from your passion is to reframe because your passion, the way you say it, may not be what people want. Okay, what may not be what people are willing to pay for. So you've got to say, all right, this is what I'm passionate about. I'll give you an example. I'm passionate about personal development. I'm passionate about spiritual growth. I'm passionate about true livelihood. But I can't sell, I haven't been able to successfully sell that thing yet because I haven't really made an offer in that, but that's a whole other story. I am reframing my passion as, I'm going to help you with your marketing. I'm going to help you make money. And that's what I help my clients make money. But I'm really talking with them about personal development. I'm really talking with them about true livelihood. But then at the same time, I'm also talking with them about marketing and all that kind of stuff, because I'm interested in that stuff too. Not my passion, but I'm interested in it. So you reframe your passion, and to make it easier for you to reframe your passion in a way that people will buy, focus on a particular audience. The more focused you are on a particular audience, the more you can study that audience. So for example, if you said, my thing, I want everyone in the world to buy it, it's very hard for you to reframe a message that everyone in the world will spend money on. But if you say, I'm going to reframe my message so that women in their 50s, okay, will buy it, then you can then study women in their 50s. What problems are they paying for? What goals do they want to reach so much that they're paying for that? Okay, the more you can focus your audience, the more you can study that audience, and to then effectively reframe your message for that audience, right? Then they'll buy it. Does that make sense? So anyway, just a few minutes on that. And of course, I've talked a lot about this stuff in the previous videos in Our Highest Work. So let me just end this episode by, again, thanking those who were able to join me live. Zuzu, Sandy, Wendy, Kevin, Barbara, Simon, thank you so much for commenting live. And there's others who are watching but couldn't comment. Thank you as well. Those of you who are watching and are listening to this later, I also want to thank you for being part of this community. Let me know if you have time, if you want to, how can this podcast be even more useful for you? What can I talk about that will be even more helpful for your true livelihood? And also, how can this community be even more effective for you. And I want to encourage you, okay? This podcast is free, the videos are free, and so is the community. But for a free community to really work, I can only show up at the community. I'll just tell you, I show up in the community about once a week. I'm going to try to be more disciplined about that from now on. About once a week, I show up to try to help out with comments, answering people's questions. But I want to encourage you, if you want this community to be a free community that's effective for you and helpful for you and other people, I want to encourage you to think about setting aside some time each week, maybe just 10 minutes a week. Come into this community and help out, comment on other people's threads in a supportive, encouraging, and helpful way. And at the same time, ask a question so that other people can help you as well. Because the way you help this community is two ways. One is helping others out, and another way is being helped by others. So with that, I am so looking forward to our future together. I'm looking forward to how this community and this podcast can help you. Share success stories with me. Even if it's a small progress, share that with us in the community. And until the next episode, know that you are being cared for by a force greater than you know. You are being loved, and I wish you the very best. Be well. Remember that your work is best done with love. Take care.